Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, the Yankees move on, take Game 4 and knock the Royals out of the ALDS, and will now go to the American League Championship Series to face either Detroit or Cleveland, who still have a Game 5 of themselves. But the Yankees, with a 3-1 win, it's a good win, solid win. Garrett Cole, the ace, came up and did what he did ace-like things. You still worry about, this offense again, didn't really give you much, only gave you 3 runs, similar to what we saw in Game 3. But nevertheless, ultimately win the game on the road there. So good, solid win to feel good about. Just, still the offense still not clicking in fully, but, let's not complain. Let's actually celebrate the win. So we'll get into the whole thing, but make sure we still got plenty of baseball left, obviously. We got the American League Championship Series. Hopefully, the Yankees get on to the next round of the World Series. And now with the Mets knocking off the Phillies there, you're hearing some whispers of possibly a Subway Series Part 2. So get into the whole thing. But before we start, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And, of course, there's the YouTube version of the show. After listening, go to YouTube, look for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, subscribe there as well. So, this series didn't really play out exactly as I thought it would. I mean, I did think the Yankees would win. I did think it would probably take 4 games, but I did not figure to go this route. Ultimately, I kind of figured, the Yankees would take the first 2 at the stadium, probably lose Game 3 with either Louis Heel or Clark Schmidt, and then have Cole there to finish it off for Game 4. Well, it did kind of work that way, just not the way we expected. Yankees splitting the home series there, taking Game 3 with a surprisingly start from Clark Schmidt, because we all thought it'd be Louis Heel, and then Schmidt being pretty good, got a little bit bad luck there, but, Stanton with the heroics having a big game, and also added RBI also in this Game 4 there, so it looks like his bat's waking up. He's finally a player for the Yankees. I mean, he's kind of really been quiet for the Yankees. I mean, he had a good regular season, but seems to be somewhat quiet lately. But finally woke up. Games 3 or 4 of this series. But of course, you have to give Cole his due. I didn't think he was going to have 2 bad starts in a row. And the first start he just didn't look like himself. And I'm very sure it had to do with the long layover. Again, he had the long week off. That's just one of the pitfalls of being one of the top seeded teams. You get a bye week, and it takes a little while for you get your players ramped up into live game action there. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with Cole, and probably as well as a little bit with Rodon as well in Game 2. But Cole, masterful, which you would expect for him against a team like the Royals, who they got some good players, but it's not like a killer lineup, that have murders row, anything like that. I mean, it should be a lineup that someone like himself has his stuff, should be able to get through. Give the Yankees 7 innings, scatter 6 hits, just with 4 strikeouts. And just 1 earned run there, gave up an RBI double in the 6th inning. And on the other side of the ball there, at least Judge got a hit finally. Woo! But on that, again, you see the offense really not teeing off yet, but just enough to win there. And really, the MVP of the series is the Yankee bullpen. I don't know if you could put on one guy, but all of them collectively, just fabulous out of the pen there. Clay Holmes again last night looked brilliant. It didn't even break a sweat there, and even got a cold 3rd strike. And I thought he looked so smooth and he didn't throw that many pitches. I was just saying, hey, look, why mess around? If he's looking good out there, he looks comfortable. Luke Weaver, to his point, has been brilliant as well, but maybe at some point, the shoe's going to drop on him. Maybe it would have been last night. Maybe just stick with Clay Holmes and just, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But nevertheless, Boone does go to Luke Weaver in the 9th inning there, and he looked just fabulous as well. Really, at body language of the Royals, from the 8th inning and the 9th inning, that looks like they just physically gave up. Swinging out a couple of bad balls, taking a couple of bad 3rd strikes. You didn't really see any fight left in them. They're only down by 2 runs. I mean, all you have to do is get a bloop and a blast, get someone on, and just, you hit a 2-run home run. The crazier things have happened, or just have one of those rallies like they had against Clark Schmidt in the 5th inning of Game 3, where you just get on it by a fluky way and just get 2 or 3 singles here and there, and then get the rally going. But they really seemed lifeless. Really, after the score was 3-1, and Holmes was in there in the 8th. But nevertheless, whatever, that's their problem. Yankees finish it off and will now go and advance. And also good spot for Gleyber Torres. This is probably the first series I could see. Again, obviously he's been here since 2018, but this is the first series I could see that he actually contributed to them moving on. He actually had a great series, just taking his walks, working the counts there. I mean, it looks like a totally different player than maybe 3 months ago. This is not me campaigning for the Yankees to sign him. Other people know he's entering free agency, but now he's making a good case for himself. This is the better version of Gleyber Torres we've seen in quite a while. Maybe not as good as the Gleyber Torres that was hitting 30 home runs in 2018 to 2019, but just be there at the leadoff spot, working the count, laying off tough pitches, getting on base, and in this game, getting on base for Soto to knock him in, driving the first run in the first inning, and then later himself getting his hands involved, knocking in Verdugo, contributing to RBI as well. And Stanton also with Judge on with an RBI hit there. So good game for Gleyber Torres and good series for Torres. He was great the whole way. And, I don't know, if this is him the rest of the way, then maybe you make a case of bringing him back. I don't know, but maybe we'll have that conversation later down the road. Little dust up there in the middle. The runner on Miguel Garcia was on first base. Ground ball to John Birdie, who was playing first. Yeah, he looked great. I mean, because this I guess his second game starting at first base. Got a grounded to him, able to tag the first base for 1 out. Throw over to second with Garcia charging in there. And Volpe caught the ball and kind of like made a tag on Garcia, but kind of like had like a forearm swipe across the face. Now, it was not intentional, and Garcia right after the play kind of like gave Volpe a pat. I mean, it was a baseball move. It was just a bad angle. Volpe's not looking to hit anybody. He's not Pete Rose. He's not Ty Cobb. He's not looking to go hurt players like that and to play like old school baseball. It was just a bad play. But nevertheless, just the fact that Garcia kind of stood there for a second or two was kind of weird. Then Jazz comes over from third base and looks like he made a comment, and Garcia balked back. And then the benches started to empty out a little bit, which is silly because you got Cole in the mound, you're rolling. This is not the time for anything. And really, you don't want any fisticuffs of someone getting hurt or just tweaking a hamstring or an ACL trying to break up a fight there. But nevertheless, cooler heads prevailed and walked off. And this kind of brings me to Jazz Chisholm Jr. And I really didn't get into it in the last audio podcast episode. Yeah, he ran his mouth a little bit. And I guess he's become the villain for the Royal fans and kind of gave them some bullboard material. I understand what his comment was, and maybe it's a little bit lost of translation thing. But after the second game when the Yankees lost, he kind of said, oh, no, I think we have the better team. They just got lucky. Which, you don't really say that after a loss. You always say, oh, it's a good team in there. They played us tough, and we'll get them next time. You kind of give the canned answer. He kind of gave it a nonchalant sort of, hey, they just got lucky. We're the better team. It's not really bad to feel that way. Again, there's ways you could say that without saying that. But the fact that he said that became their bulletin board material. So, of course, from game 3 and 4, the fans were showering him down with booze. It's unnecessary attention. You don't need that. Again, it was silly, but, and I don't think he meant it that way in a bad way, but I guess obviously when you're searching for anything to just give yourself an extra motivation or something, I guess that became the thing amongst the fans. So if you're watching the game on TV, plenty of middle fingers for Jazz. I'm sure you saw that, and obviously getting on him after every out, and this was just another contributing factor to that. And when Jazz came here, you knew he had this baggage. I mean, that was sort of the story on him. It was always a good, raw, talented player, but teammates were really thrilled with him, and sometimes he would just misspeak, and his antics kind of drive you nuts. And, we know he's a lively type of guy. We know the whole deal with him and his shoes, and he got like 8 different gloves and all that stuff. But, this is the first time we see like the attitude part of him kind of come out and kind of rub people the wrong way. And I guess this is what it is. Is it terrible? Is he an atrocious teammate? No, but you just don't want the type of stuff, especially for the New York Yankees. We know that thing. They're boring. They're like that, and this is not the Yankee way. And I wouldn't be shocked. Maybe the captain, Judge. Maybe we'll see at some point during some of these off days before the next series starts. Judge goes over to him and says, "Hey, look, we're the Yankees. We don't do this type of stuff here. I'm sure there's still trash talking on the field, a little back and forth. All right, but you do it under your breath, and you don't do it that way. And you don't tell the other team they got lucky if they win. Again, it's not the Yankee way. So let's see if the captain, Judge, does something about that. Again, it's not a big deal, but you just don't need the extra pressure, the extra distraction, because then Jazz is up the plate there, right? He hears these fans jawing at him. Is he going to get out of his game? Is he going to swing at a stupid pitch, try to hit a home run just to shut them up? And then that's why you just don't need that baggage. And that's probably the only little blemish you would say on the series and really with Jazz so far. Then he didn't really have a great series. I know he had a home run in game 2 there. Third base, he held down the fort, and I was worried about him there, but he did a decent enough job. He's able to throw the ball. He's got the arm. It's just you worry about the mechanics, being in position for a cutoff throw, turning the double play, being in the right place at the right time, backing up where the base he needs to back up. You got to hope it knows those fundamentals. And if you look at the series as a whole, look, Yankees were the better team. They were the better team. So just to check it out, Jazz, not going to say Royals are lucky, but look, Yankees are a top number 1 seeded team, and the Royals are a 5th seeded team, and this is what you expect to happen. Royals have some good players, don't get me wrong like that, but the Yankees were the better team. They have the better lineup. They got the more impressive players. I know they didn't really flex their muscles as much. You're going to get the best version of Judge, obviously. You kind of got this version of Judge right now, which is like, the D version of Judge. Soto had a good series with his eye. It took a lot of walks, got a couple of good hits here and there. But, we didn't really see the power of Judge and Soto in this one. They really, hit the doubles and home runs and really, just really kill the other team's pitchers there. So, even though this was kind of a laid-back version of the Yankees, there was still the better team there. So the better team won. And, it was just a matter of just playing the games, let the chips fall there. But the Yankee bullpen was just exceptional in this game. So if you're looking for an MVP, it's got to be collectively just the Yankee bullpen, all of them. Canley, Holmes, and of course Luke Weaver. And even though, they didn't get much fanfare, Ian Hamilton, I know he gave up an RBI there in game 2, but they all just collectively were great. Just with the long layoff, they came through for the Yankees, so they move on. So we'll wait for the next round there. It's going to be the Detroit Tigers or the Cleveland Guardians. I like the Yankees' chances against both. Detroit's got some, couple of good starters there. Could, really shut a team down. So you got to be worried about that. But still, overall, collectively, I would say the Yankees are the better team than the two of them. It's just, of course, the talent needs to come out, and we need to get better versions of some of these guys, mainly Rodon, and of course, Aaron Judge needs to pick it up. They don't have to be, they don't have to be hot. They don't have to be, that. But if they just be their normal self, that should be good enough. And it's good to see players like Gleyber Torres now stepping up his game, Giancarlo Stanton stepping up his game, and really just everyone up and down the lineup, more or less. Let's take someone like Volpe. I mean, really good at bats this entire series. His plate discipline, just for a young kid there. I know you hit 200 last season and did a little bit better this season, but just laying off a lot of tough pitches, took a lot of walks. He had a bases loaded walk to score in the run there, so good at the plate. Just the Yankees batters really working the Royals pitchers, give up a lot of walks in this series, and the Yankees able to cash in here and there when available to do that. So that's the episode. We'll move on. Maybe we'll see. Maybe do one more just sort of preview depending on who they go for. Me, do I have any personal preference? I don't know. I always say, be careful what you ask for. You may just get it. I think the Yankees will be better off facing Detroit. Let's say Cleveland's could beat the Yankees. I think the Yankees could beat either Cleveland or Detroit. But of course, Cleveland had themselves a really good season. They got some good players there, and maybe at some point, since the Yankees have been beating Cleveland lately, so maybe the tide will turn on that. So I don't know. I guess if I'm going to pull for some, I think the easier path is probably going to be Detroit. But either way, I like the Yankees' chances against both. Catch you next time.